Welcome to Chapter 9 of Class 7 Science, Life Processes in Animals. In this fascinating chapter, we'll explore how animals obtain and use food through nutrition, and how they produce energy through respiration. We begin with a wise saying from Thirukkural: if your food is fully digested before you eat again, you won't need medicine for pain. This ancient wisdom highlights the importance of proper digestion for good health. We'll learn about the amazing digestive system that processes our food, the respiratory system that helps us breathe, and how different animals have adapted these processes to their environments. Get ready for an exciting journey inside the human body and beyond. Let's begin with nutrition in animals. Different animals have different eating habits based on their environment and body structure. Bees and sunbirds suck nectar from flowers using their specialized mouthparts. Human infants drink their mother's milk, which provides perfect nutrition for growth. Snakes like pythons can swallow their prey whole due to their flexible jaws and expandable bodies. Some aquatic animals filter tiny food particles from the water around them. Despite these differences, all animals share a common need: they must break down complex food components into simpler forms that their bodies can use. This process happens in the alimentary canal, a long tube that runs from the mouth to the anus. As food moves through this canal, digestive juices secreted at different parts break it down step by step. The simpler forms are then absorbed and transported to various body parts where they're used for energy, growth, and repair. Let's trace this amazing journey through the human digestive system. The journey of digestion begins in the mouth. When you eat food, your teeth perform mechanical digestion by crushing and chewing food into smaller pieces. But there's also chemical digestion happening. Your saliva contains digestive enzymes that start breaking down starch into simpler sugars. Have you noticed that when you chew chapati or rice for a long time, it begins to taste sweet? That's because saliva is converting starch into sugar. In Activity 9.1, we can test this scientifically. We take 2 test tubes with boiled rice, one with plain rice and another with rice that has been chewed for 30 to 60 seconds. When we add iodine solution, the plain rice turns blue-black, indicating starch is present. But the chewed rice shows little or no color change, proving that saliva has broken down the starch. This demonstrates that chemical digestion begins right in your mouth. Good oral hygiene, brushing teeth, cleaning tongue, and rinsing after meals, supports this important first step of digestion. After chewing, food travels down the esophagus or food pipe to reach the stomach. The walls of the food pipe contract and relax in wave-like motions called peristalsis, pushing the food downward. This movement continues throughout the digestive tract. In the stomach, something amazing happens. The stomach walls churn the food, mixing it with 3 important secretions: digestive juice that breaks down proteins, acid that kills harmful bacteria, and mucus that protects the stomach lining from the acid. The stomach transforms food into a semi-liquid mass, preparing it for the next stage. Interestingly, our understanding of stomach digestion came from an accidental discovery. In 1822, Alexis Street Martin was shot in the stomach, and Dr. William Beaumont used the permanent opening to observe digestion directly. He discovered how different foods break down and how emotions affect digestion. From the stomach, partially digested food moves to the small intestine, which is surprisingly long, about 6 meters. That's almost twice your classroom height. Now let's explore absorption and elimination, the final stages of digestion. The small intestine is where most nutrient absorption occurs. Its inner lining has thousands of finger-like projections called villi that dramatically increase the surface area for absorption. These villi have thin walls and rich blood supply, allowing digested nutrients to pass easily into the bloodstream. The blood then carries these nutrients to all body parts. However, some people have a condition called celiac disease, where their body reacts to gluten, a protein in wheat, barley, and rye. This damages the small intestine lining and reduces nutrient absorption. The solution is to avoid gluten-containing foods and use alternatives like millets, jowar, bajra, and ragi, which are naturally gluten-free. After the small intestine, undigested food moves to the large intestine, which is shorter but wider than the small intestine. Here, water and some salts are absorbed, turning the waste into semi-solid stool. The large intestine also contains helpful bacteria that break down undigested fiber and produce essential nutrients. Foods like curd, buttermilk, and traditional fermented foods support these beneficial bacteria. Do all animals digest food the same way as humans? Definitely not. Different animals have evolved different digestion methods suited to their diets. Grass-eating animals like cows, buffaloes, and goats are called ruminants. They have a special digestive process called rumination. They partially chew grass and swallow it into their first stomach chamber, where partial digestion occurs. Then they bring the food back to their mouth for thorough chewing before swallowing it again for complete digestion. Cows spend about 8 hours daily just chewing. Birds have a different adaptation. They don't have teeth. Instead, they have a muscular chamber called a gizzard. Birds swallow small stones that help the gizzard grind and break down food. It's like having teeth in their stomach. These variations show how animals adapt to their food sources. Ancient texts like Charaka Samhita recognize the importance of digestion centuries ago, recommending easily digestible foods and spices like ginger, black pepper, and cumin to enhance digestion, practices that modern science confirms. Now let's explore respiration in animals. Why is breathing so crucial? We can survive without food for about a week, without water for a day or two, but without breathing, we can't survive more than a few minutes. There's an important distinction between breathing and respiration. Breathing is the physical process of moving air in and out of our lungs, inhalation and exhalation. Respiration is the chemical process that occurs inside our cells where food is broken down with oxygen to release energy. Our respiratory system has a specific pathway. Air enters through nostrils, passes through nasal passages where tiny hairs and mucus trap dust, travels down the windpipe, branches into bronchi entering the lungs, and finally reaches tiny air sacs called alveoli. In Activity 9.2, we can make a breathing model using a plastic bottle, balloons, and rubber sheet. When we pull the rubber sheet representing diaphragm downward, the balloons representing lungs inflate, showing inhalation. When we push the rubber sheet upward, the balloons deflate, showing exhalation. This demonstrates how diaphragm movement causes breathing. What exactly are we breathing out? Let's investigate with Activity 9.3. We take 2 test tubes with lime water and pass surrounding air into one test tube using a syringe, while blowing our exhaled air into the other test tube using a straw. The lime water in the second test tube turns milky, while the first shows little change. Why? Lime water reacts with carbon dioxide to form calcium carbonate, which makes the water look milky. This proves that our exhaled air contains more carbon dioxide than the air we breathe in. The actual gas exchange happens in the alveoli, tiny balloon-like sacs in our lungs with thin walls surrounded by blood vessels. Blood brings carbon dioxide from the body to the alveoli, where it's released into the air. Meanwhile, oxygen from the alveoli passes into the blood and is transported throughout the body. When we analyze the air composition, we find inhaled air has about 21% oxygen, while exhaled air has only 16–17% oxygen, and carbon dioxide increases from 0.04% to about 4%. This shows we use some oxygen but not all of it during respiration. Now let's understand the respiration equation and how different animals breathe. The key chemical reaction is glucose plus oxygen produces carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. This happens inside our body cells and is why we need both food and oxygen. Breathing brings in oxygen and removes carbon dioxide, while respiration uses that oxygen to break down food and release energy for all our activities: walking, running, playing, and even thinking. Smoking is extremely harmful to this process. It damages lungs, increases cancer risk, and affects not just smokers but also people nearby through passive smoking. Different animals have different breathing adaptations. Animals like birds, elephants, and lizards use lungs, but with different structures. Fish use gills to extract oxygen from water. Frogs or amphibians, their tadpoles use gills in water, while adult frogs use lungs on land and their skin in water. Earthworms use their moist skin for gas exchange. Each adaptation perfectly suits the animal's habitat. Finally, let's review how all systems work together and discuss healthy practices. The circulatory system, with the heart, blood, and blood vessels, connects all life processes. It transports nutrients from the digestive system and oxygen from the respiratory system to all body parts, while removing waste products. Traditional breathing practices like pranayama from India and tumo breathing from Ladakh have been used for centuries to improve respiratory health, relaxation, and mental clarity. Modern science now confirms these benefits. Throughout this chapter, we've learned about the complete digestive journey from mouth to anus, the difference between breathing and respiration, how animals adapt to their environments, and the importance of maintaining digestive and respiratory health. Remember the wise saying we started with: proper digestion leads to good health. Use this knowledge to make healthy choices in your daily life.